My kid is getting bullied. I told him he has to defend himself. My jaw dropped to the floor when I found out actual screw-up happened yesterday at the dinner table after school. After effects of my screw-up have me currently at the ER getting my son checked out for an anaphylactic shock. Yesterday, my kid came home and was obviously upset, so I asked him what was wrong. He's 8, so he still talks to me about this stuff. He proceeds to tell me that at lunch, another kid in his class is bullying him about his peanut allergy, saying that he's faking his allergy and that he's gonna wipe some peanut butter on him to prove that he is faking. My kid says to him that he isn't faking and that he could die from just touching peanut butter. The other kid said he didn't care and that he wanted him to die anyway. At this point, my kid said that he told the teacher and the lunchroom monitor, who both know about his peanut allergy, and they were able to intervene yesterday. I had a long talk with my kid about doing the right thing and telling the teacher, and not letting this other kid make him lash out. Then we talked about the hard part. Now, I'm sure I'm gonna generate some hate with some people here with what I told him next, and that's fine. We are allowed to have differing opinions. But I'm not apologizing to anyone for teaching my kid to stand up and defend himself. After we talked about doing the right thing and doing everything you can do to avoid a bad situation, I told him that sometimes you have to do the wrong thing to protect yourself, and that should always be the absolute last resort. When he asked what I meant, I told him that if that kid, as long as the bully is only taunting him with words, then he should always walk away. But if he ever did try to put peanut butter on you, then you hit him as hard as you can with the side of your hand in the throat, kind of like a throat chop. Then you stop unless the bully keeps trying. Fast forward to this very afternoon, and I get a call from the principal of the school saying that my son assaulted another student and needed to be picked up. I asked what happened, and of course, they won't talk about it over the phone, but I smiled a little bit because I already know. I get to school and I see my kid sitting in the office, tears streaming down his face. So I walk in and the principal tries talking to me, but I blow right past her and ask my kid what happened. He says the bully had peanut butter on his fingers and he was threatening to wipe it on his face. Then, my kid said that he did what I told him to do and hit the kid in the throat because he wiped peanut butter on his arm. I looked at his arm that was pretty swollen up and asked him if he was having trouble breathing. Kid said he was fine, just a little shaky. At this point, the principal interrupts with her, "Mr. So-and-so, we can't just have kids hitting other children just because they had a little peanut butter wiped on them. Kids do this kind of thing. We are gonna have to suspend him for a few days." It's obvious to me that the principal is clueless about the peanut allergy, so I cut her off and asked my kid if he told the bully to stop before he hit the other kid. He said yes. I yelled at him several times that I'm allergic to peanut butter and told him to stop, and he just kept acting like he was gonna wipe it on me. Now the principal has a shocked look on her face. I asked to see the video from the cafeteria, and sure as hell, my kid can be seen and heard screaming and trying to back away from this bully. At the point where it looks like the bully grabs my kid's arm, my kid yells at the top of his little lungs, "I told you to stop!" Then he grabs the bully by the arm, pulls him towards himself, and executes the best clothesline I've ever seen anyone do, and floors the kid. Then my kid sits down and starts crying in the middle of the cafeteria. At this point, I tell the principal that if my kid isn't allowed back at school tomorrow, I was consulting with a lawyer about the attempted murder of my son. I also said that assuming he didn't have any other ill effects from this, I would be fine not pressing charges against the school and the bully, since it looks like he may have already learned his lesson. Since I didn't get a response and it's been about half an hour since the peanut butter was wiped on my kid's arm, I picked him up and left to take him to the ER to get checked out. About 10 minutes ago, I got a phone call from the school board superintendent saying that the school board has decided to let my kid come back to school tomorrow. Edit 1. Kid has a clean bill of health from the hospital. Swelling is starting to go down after some epinephrine. Edit 2. Kid got cookies and ice cream. And edit 3. I've been invited to a meeting with the school board Thursday afternoon. We'll update afterwards. Update. Just left the meeting, which wasn't with the school board, as I was led to believe on the phone. It was with the principal and a legal representative from the school board. I had a lawyer with me, and prior to this meeting, we discussed what I wanted out of this meeting. My main concerns were 1. Making sure that there was a procedure in place to keep allergens away from my child, and 2. Ensuring that this bully has no ability to assault my child ever again. I also wanted to know how it was that the principal wasn't informed or aware of my child's allergy prior to telling me that he was going to be suspended. The lawyers talked legal stuff for a little while I listened and the principal listened as well. Eventually, my turn to talk came, and I simply explained points 1 and 2 above. I also asked why the principal didn't take time to assess the whole situation. The explanation I got was that she was told by the monitor that it was almond butter, not peanut butter by the monitor, so she really didn't look further into it, which I can understand her point, but it doesn't make things any better from my perspective. So, here's the cut and dry stuff first. The bully child has been moved to a different school. Unfortunately, I don't have any legal recourse to find out which school he has been moved to, and frankly, don't care. The cafeteria monitor has been fired. I didn't hear this at the meeting, but my son's teacher called last night after school and told me. I asked why, and I was told that she was distracted by her phone when all of the commotion started, which explains why this was allowed to progress in the first place. Based on the recommendation of a friend, and many of you via PM, I requested and was accommodated with an allergy-free table at our school, and I'm being told every other school in the district will be implementing one as well. This is where children with known allergies will eat lunch at, and anyone who eats with them will have their lunches inspected by a teacher and a monitor to ensure no allergies are present. Now, on to the weird stuff. The kid probably did wipe almond butter on my son. The kid's parents found out, though, through a mutual friend where we lived and showed up at my house last night. The bully kid was very apologetic to me and asked if he could apologize to my son, which I said yes, of course to. I invited the parents and son into the living room, and this child started crying and said he didn't mean to hurt my son. My son started crying as well, and he said he didn't want to hit him, and he apologized as well. Then the parents asked the bully child to explain what happened. So apparently this kid likes peanut butter and almond butter, and has almond butter on a sandwich and little packs of peanut butter in his lunch for crackers. The bully child thought it would be funny to continue tormenting from yesterday, and said something about putting peanut butter on my son and put a little bit on his fingers to make him think it was peanut butter. Then he wiped them off afterwards and got some of the almond butter from his sandwich, and that's what was on his hands when he grabbed my son's arm. I can only guess that there was a little peanut residue left on the bully's hand when he grabbed my son, which explains the subdued swelling reaction. I asked the kid if he knew what a peanut allergy actually does to a person, which, to the parents' credit, they actually made him read a WebMD about it, and he explained the whole inability to breathe and some other things his mind grasped onto. So I took the opportunity to show this young man the EpiPen needle. We have one for just show and tell purposes, and that you have to stick a person with it in an anaphylactic shock scenario. Then I gave him the trainer unit and showed him where it goes and how to press the button. When the button actuated, I think he jumped about 15 feet in the air and was obviously scared. The parents apologized again, as did the bully kid. I told all of them that I was satisfied that a lesson was learned here and I wouldn't be pursuing any additional charges against the kids or his parents. As the parents and the bully kid are leaving, my son runs right past us all and gave the bully kid a hug and tells him that he hopes he isn't in too much trouble. I was asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which I of course declined. I want my options to be open to me in case something like this ever happens again. Well, lesson learned, and I'm glad that we were dealing for the bully. I'm glad that his parents weren't the type to immediately deny and gaslight about it or blow it off and be like, oh, my kid did nothing wrong. My kid could never do that. Sue me, go ahead. You're in the wrong. I'm glad that they were reasonable individuals. Kids do stupid things, and sometimes kids do really stupid things, and there was a lesson learned, and the dad kind of, knew his legal rights. He got a lawyer involved, so smart for him, and the kid gave the bully a hug, and he's like, all right, you messed up, but I forgive you, and I hope you're not in too much trouble. Young children, we can learn from them sometimes. Anyway, next story. Story number 2. My brother-in-law is the reason why my husband left me. I don't know what to do now. I, F38, met my brother-in-law, M38, at university. He asked me out in our first year, and I refused. He called me the C word and that I am shallow. My best friend told me that it was harmless comments from a drunken guy who got rejected. I never thought myself shallow. It was his demeanor and awkwardness that was off-putting to me. Anyway, he proved my friend right, and other than these comments, I have never felt uncomfortable during my university years because he never bothered me again. Not even looked my way. Next time I met him was when my baby sister, F28, introduced him as her boyfriend. I didn't even recognize him at first because it was like 9 to 10 years since that day he talked to me. He was visibly annoyed that I didn't recognize him and called me a liar. The family was skeptical at first about him, but he seemed to treat my sister right and she seemed happy. He is very rich, taking her all over the world, and he seemed kind. They got married after a year of dating, and now they have 3 children. I met my now ex M40 5 years ago, and the only odd comment from my brother-in-law was that I was still as shallow and superficial as I was in university. At the time, I took it as a joke, but in hindsight, when I found out the truth and started thinking back, looking for red flags, this was probably a big one. He never showed any signs that he disliked my husband, and he was always decent enough, and his indifference to have a close friendship with my husband and I didn't seem odd because he was always a recluse. A year ago, my husband came home and accused me of cheating, and he had evidence. Some guy contacted him, and he had nudes, etc., of me on his phone. The guy told my husband that he didn't know at first that I was married, but as soon as he found out, he contacted my now ex. He even apologized to my husband. I have never met this guy in my life. Nothing I said or did made my husband believe me. He left me and our divorce is pending. Then yesterday, that guy contacted me and he apologized for what he did and told me that he is friends with my brother-in-law. He sent me conversations, endless conversations my brother-in-law had about me for years. He has never forgotten that I, in his words, didn't even give him a chance and only judged him by his looks. He called me the C word in that chat, both group chats with his friends, but mostly with this guy. They planned this attack, and my brother-in-law somehow got access to my photos. The reason this guy contacted me now is that he felt guilty because even when my marriage was over, my brother-in-law still was angry and hateful, especially when he heard that I was on a date last weekend. So the friend felt that he didn't help his friend, but ruined innocent people's lives. I'm not sure what to do. My brother-in-law has actually been happier and more sociable than usual since my divorce, and now I know why. Although first, I thought he felt sorry and wanted to support me. His jokes about me ending up an old maid with cats and companions doesn't sound like jokes anymore. He meant them. I don't want to ruin my sister's life. She's very happy with her husband. I'm not sure either if I can with her husband. I'm also not sure if I should tell my ex or not. I am very heartbroken that he didn't believe me. I love him very much. He is the love of my life, but I'm not sure if I can forgive him for not believing me. But he is a victim in this too, so maybe he needs to know for closure. I am so terribly sad and hurt. I'm sorry this post got very long. Update 1. My soon-to-be ex-husband knows everything now. Apparently, the guy who contacted me contacted my husband at the same time and confessed to him. My soon-to-be ex is coming to town this weekend, and he wants to talk. Afterwards, I will probably need to look into taking legal action if that's possible and tell my family. I think now exposing him is the best and more safe approach should anything more serious happen, and at the very least, people would be aware of who to blame. I also want to at least make sure that my sister and her children are in safety before I tell them everything, like meeting them at my parents' house after I tell my parents. The pictures were real, by the way, and were probably stolen from my phone or my husband's because he is the only one I took those pictures for. I don't know if I can get any justice since the pictures were not of my face. At least I was smart enough to not have my face shown in the nudes, and I don't know what will happen. Here are some relevant comments. User 2 said, "So, you're telling me that this guy has kept himself around you for 20 years and is still hung up on you rejecting him? It sounds like he's preyed on your sister to get close to you, and will keep trying to ruin your life if you let him get away with this. You need to tell your sister what he did, and the guy he used needs to tell your ex what he did. Not to stir any pots or to get your ex back, but so everyone knows what a psycho this guy is. If he's still trying to get back at you after decades of simply rejecting him, he's never going to stop, and he's never going to let you be happy." Then OP said, "Yes, he's been following me throughout my university years, and even afterwards. He found my sister and managed to charm her. When they got married, I was single, and apparently he was telling his friends how he was glad I was old and single and miserable, which is not an accurate representation of my single life. Then when I met my husband, he was angry because he didn't think I would find someone at my age, 33. Now, when we are getting divorced, he was very pleased again, saying I would definitely never find someone at 38. That I would regret turning him down. But I was on a date last weekend, so he spiraled down again and was angry and wrote horrible things about me. So his friend chose to come forward because he thought that my divorce wasn't good enough for this guy, his words. Update. I really don't have much to add. My sister is very angry. She said that I have ruined her husband's reputation because my ex has blasted him and his friend everywhere. Now he is talking about wanting to end his life because I ruined it because of a joke he played. My parents have told her everything the day everything was exposed, and apparently she believed them, me at first, but now she has turned on me, so she is refusing to listen. I wish I could have had a moment with her first before all hell broke loose. Then OP elaborated in the comment section about her husband. He is looking for jobs here because he wants to move back. I got very anxious and asked if he is doing this because of me, because we are not together and this wasn't the right time to pressure me. But he said he was doing it for himself and that he doesn't want anything from me but that. And he doesn't want to leave town for brother-in-law to think he has easy prey to harm. I didn't ask about the person he was seeing. I felt it would be disrespectful to interrogate him since I have no right to do that. Maybe it is not serious, or maybe she's willing to move here, I don't know. I've spoken to lawyers. They don't seem to think that this could lead to anything. Then OP made another comment on her husband. Yes, and he said that he couldn't just wait and let brother-in-law believe that I was alone and an easy prey. He said that the police wouldn't do anything. He was right about that. And people like the brother-in-law are better exposed to everyone because they value their image. He doesn't seem to be understanding of my sister, however, and the way she was put in the middle. He did apologize a lot, but probably only because I was distraught and upset about what he did. I don't think he regrets anything. He is very sad himself, and he's been apologizing all the time about everything, including not believing me or trusting his gut that believed me. My brother-in-law hasn't bothered me again since he tried to call me to threaten me after everything blew up because my ex went to his place again and threatened beating him up again. Now my sister is even angrier. Then OP elaborated on her husband's relationship. Yeah, it is over. I don't think it was a serious relationship. I just heard rumors that he had a girlfriend, but didn't know the details, so maybe I thought it was more serious than it was. Now he is moving back, and I haven't heard that someone is moving with him, so I don't know. We talk on the phone every day, but I don't want to pry. Story number 3. Me, 26F, with my boyfriend, 27M, and his sister, 28F, filled my yard with gnomes. I got rid of them after 2 months, and my boyfriend is furious. I am not sure what to do. My boyfriend's sister, Chrissy, pulled a prank on me 2 months ago. She left about 50 gnomes in my front yard. No warning, they were just there. I called people up and asked them, but no one would tell me. I guess this is part of the prank. I had no freaking clue what was going on. Eventually, the kids in the neighborhood started picking them off, so I brought them inside my garage. 2 of them were pretty cute, so I cleaned them up and put them in the house. I waited for someone to come clean, but no one did. After 3 weeks, I decided I was going to just donate them. A few friends asked if they could have some, and I let them. I started giving them to people who commented on one being interesting or cute. I told my boyfriend about my army, and he laughed. I thought he might have done it, but he said he honestly didn't, so I believed him. Well, he went on a 4-week trip with his family to Europe. I got a few emails from him, but we were both busy. I went on a trip for myself, for work, and for pleasure. So when he got back, he asked how the gnomes were treating me, and I let him know most of them had found new homes. He got really silent and asked how many I had left. I told him 10. He asked who took them and said we needed to get them back. I was confused. It had been 2 months and the gnomes were kind of a funny story, but I don't remember everyone who took one, let alone the kids who picked about 10 off the lawn. He then told me they belonged to Chrissy, who thought I had just stored them in my garage, which is why she didn't pick them up before the trip. Chrissy is his sister. Apparently, Chrissy has been pulling the gnome army prank for years, and I am the B word who gave away her army. My boyfriend is furious with me and asked why I would do that. I told him he should have come clean and I would have just kept them in my garage for her to pick up after. He said it wasn't how the prank worked. Then he said he needs to rethink the relationship. He wants me to get them back, as they are dear to Chrissy. Chrissy doesn't know yet. I am not sure what to do about this. I had a few people offer to return their gnomes, but the rest of the people said they gave them away to so-and-so and didn't know where they were now. This is such a surreal situation, and I have no freaking clue what to do about it. I don't see how I was wrong, but I feel bad. So, what can I do? Here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, they have no reason to try to hold you accountable for not following the unreasonable rules of a game you didn't know about. Give back the gnomes you have, but don't feel like you have to acquiesce and go out of your way to try to recover the gnomes that are lost. That's not your business. They left a bunch of stuff on somebody else's property, unannounced and unidentified, and you shouldn't be blamed for cleaning up your property. Then OP said, I am willing to give back the ones I have and have gotten 3 back from people so far. Then user 2 said, please show them this thread so they can realize how effing stupid everyone thinks it is to play a prank on someone, abandon the materials used for the prank for 2 months without owning up that they had done it and requesting the gnomes back, and then getting angry when the gnomes, which had been abandoned for 2 months, are disposed of. Effing stupid. And user 3 said, this is one of the most ludicrous things I have ever read on the sub. You weren't wrong because you asked around to see who the gnomes belonged to before giving them away. It's their own fault for doing a stupid prank like that, then leaving you in the dark for months. Had they left the gnomes on your lawn one night, then collected them after you saw them, the prank could have been really cute and funny. If your boyfriend leaves you or holds this over your head, good riddance. And finally, OP replied with, I just don't know what would make him think I would keep them. I am one of the neatest people I know. I don't keep junk around. I have a few things that I kept out of sentiment, but if I don't need it, I don't keep it. Update. I decided to bite the bullet and talk to Chrissy. I brought the gnomes I had to her house and knocked on the door. Chrissy's mom answered and asked me in. I was tired of the immaturity and mind games. My boyfriend had been sending me threatening texts like, get me more gnomes, you B-word, and stuff like that. I could see a lot of red flags, or red hats if you were so inclined. I wanted Chrissy to have her gnomes back and just get it over with. When I handed Mrs. Mom the open box, she asked where I got those. She seemed really upset I even had them. I told her the story. Pretty much what I said in the last post, but with some more detail. Her reply was, Joe has been telling a totally different story. She seemed really hurt about the whole thing, and while I wanted to make a quick getaway, I was freaking curious. Blah, blah, blah. Mrs. Mom told me a little bit of the background. I am not going to repeat everything she said, because some of it's sad and pathetic and a little too dark for a post about a gnome invasion. But the gnome army belonged to Chrissy's late boyfriend, Steve. Steve and Chrissy used to put them in people's yards and then demanded another member for their army. So the gnomes came from people Steve and Chrissy knew over a period of about 5 years. Steve passed away. Chrissy stopped the gnome pranks and put them into storage. She has not pulled the prank in almost 2 years now, but freaks out if someone mentions getting rid of the gnomes or even moving the box. I felt like an a-hole, but Mrs. Mom thanked me for bringing some of them back. She did say the annoying line of, you should have kept them even if you didn't know who they belonged to. She did say she was going to replace the gnomes in the boxes with other ones and hope Chrissy didn't notice. Not sure that this is a smart idea. She said that she wanted to believe me, but that this is likely the last time she would want me in her house. Gee, thanks. I said that was fine. I had no intention of staying in a family who pulled weird pranks, then blamed the victims. One bridge burned. I mean, I understand she is likely upset because Chrissy apparently doesn't handle any mention of Steve well. She is likely going to be upset and never speak to the person at fault again, which is likely me. How I got them out of a storage unit 3 hours away, the mystery will likely haunt their family for years. As for now, my ex-boyfriend, I went to his house and asked him why he pulled the prank. His answer was stupid and telling, I don't know. He wouldn't answer me, and he wouldn't tell me what was going on. He said he just wanted to do something cute. Then it got out of hand, and he thought I would keep them. Something about having his own little secret made him happy. I got my things from his room and left. I told him that our mutual friend Jake would bring his stuff by at a later time. Jake agreed to this and said Joe's story was BS. I guess Joe told people I got the gnomes out of the storage unit and put them in the yard to get attention. That totally makes sense. I guess it was spiteful to do, but I did send Chrissy a message on Facebook. Chrissy, I don't think we will be friends after this. I know you want to believe your brother, but I did not take your gnomes. I don't know why they were in my yard or even that you had them. Please understand I would never aim to hurt, steal, or take from you. Your brother admitted to putting them in my yard, though I have no idea why he did it. Then I got back an okay, and then she blocked me. I blocked Joe and his family. I'm not sure what to do now, but it has been a really interesting few weeks for sure. Here are some more relevant comments. A lot of users said that OP now has a great story to tell people. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Has to be the strangest end to a relationship I ever had. And I have some doozy ex-boyfriends. Then user 4 said, either this is a troll post or you people have way too much time on your hands. Imagining a bunch of adults having a family feud over gnomes is just ridiculous. Then OP said, I didn't feud. Why the F would I want an argument about gnomes? I returned what I had. I got rid of the ones that were in my yard, and the issue was the fact that my boyfriend lied and made it into a huge deal. And then one final comment from OP which said, even I can't take this seriously. It's a terrible thing to do to anyone, but the fact that Chrissy has some sort of secret gnome army belonging to a dead boyfriend seems so creepy. And my ex is just, yeah, it was an a-hole thing to do, gnome or no gnome. This is such a stupid story in the sense of the people involved, right? Like OP, I don't think she did anything wrong because nobody claimed the gnomes for 2 months. What did the boyfriend think? Why does Chrissy have gnomes? Chrissy should go to therapy. That's not my place to say. But you know what? This is so weird, and the family is just wrong, okay? What did you think she was gonna do with that whole like, oh, well, you should have just kept them? Kept them for what? If I leave trash in your yard, are you gonna keep it? If I put a whole bunch of rocks, like fake decorative rocks on your yard and just put them and litter them all over, are you gonna keep all 50 of them? Probably not, because you don't want them. You didn't buy them. These people are so dumb. I want to shake them and be like, what is wrong with you? All right, next story. Story number 4. My boyfriend doesn't know I will break up with him after his residency exam. We have been together 3 years. Only in the last year has his alcoholism started to show. He is a mean drunk, so every time he goes out to drink, he arrives home only to scream at me. He also got into drugs, so the arriving home is around 10 a.m. after not hearing from him for half a day. The shouting finally became name-calling. After giving him an ultimatum about his lifestyle choices and how they affect me, I was promised everything will change. No more nights turned into mornings turned into evenings. No more leaving me to go home alone. No more shouting, no more drugs, no more secrets as to where he is or who he's with. But he doesn't know I know that he lied every weekend when he told me he is in bed sleeping. He doesn't know I know every girl he gave his Instagram to, that I know he begged his friends to lie to me. He doesn't know that as soon as he comes home after his residency exam, I will have my stuff packed and ready to leave. 1 week from today, he doesn't know that while he is talking about us buying a house together and getting married, I cry because of how stupid he was, not because I'm happy. He is currently singing in the other room, making plans for how we'll celebrate if he passed the exam. Here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, could you explain the logic behind not leaving ASAP? I just genuinely want to understand your feelings better. I am in the field that he is in, so I know how hard it is. I genuinely want him to pass and have a good life, just not with me in it. Then user 2 said, I recommend packing your stuff and moving out while he is gone. Then, if you really want to give him closure, ask him to meet somewhere in public, not a bar but like a cafe, and just let him know that you are leaving him and all your stuff is moved out. Don't risk him possibly getting violent. Then user 3 replied to that comment and said, that's a really hard choice to make, but it sounds like an overdue decision. He is not stable and he shows no signs of changing. Buying a house with him would be a huge mistake. OP, you said as soon as he comes home after his residency exam, you will have your stuff packed and ready to leave. You may want to rethink that part. He has shown himself to be volatile. Coming home from a highly stressful exam to see you ready to leave may result in an explosive reaction. The best case scenario is an ugly, unpleasant, loud scene. The worst case scenario is that there's a risk of violence. Leave him while he is at the exam. Don't be waiting for him at home. Move out while he is gone. If you feel you owe him closure, that's your choice, but do so in a way that is actually safe. Meet him in a public-only place, have friends nearby, call him on the phone. But don't end a relationship with a volatile person in private, especially in a way that will invite conflict. Your current plan puts you at a risk unnecessarily. Update. I did break up with him. Thank you all for liking and commenting. I did read each and every comment of yours, and it was a relief going through this week. A few clarifications that may have sparked confusion. I am not from the US. English is not my first language, so when I googled residency exam, it seemed like what I was referring to was the exam a med student takes to start working in a hospital. So, referring to those that told me to tell his boss, he doesn't have one. For those who told me to report to the board, there isn't a board. He took several admission tests that verify him apt psychologically and physically. He passed all of those tests. I cannot go against several doctors' approval with just my word. I went to the hospital and asked what I have to do to prove he's a danger. They told me that I would need hard proof that I cannot get, but the hospital reassured me that there are checkups and they will keep an eye on him. I also told his parents and his friends the real reason why we broke up. Now, onto the breakup. It did not go violently. I did what was suggested, and I met him in a public place after his exam. At first, he acted very weird, got up and left to just quickly come back saying he is sorry, but he doesn't want to feel this pain. We had a very civil talk where I told him how alone he made me feel every time we would go out and come back only at 12 a.m. I told him that he is not the person I would want to raise my children with. I told him how volatile he is, and how even though he never hurt anybody, I don't want to be the first one. His reaction was to cry and beg, telling me I am the love of his life and he will get help. He pledged to me that he will never meet up with those friends again, that he never cheated on me, that he will go to therapy. It was a long breakup. Since then, he bought me tickets to Venice for my work milestone, which is in 2 months, saying that it is for me and if I want, maybe for us. He brought me flowers for Valentine's Day and asked if we could meet. I said no and said I will block him if he goes on like this. I am incredibly sad because my family won't talk to me, saying I am selfish for not helping them with their emotional needs even now, and saying I should take him back. I feel sorry for the both of us, what drugs and alcohol can turn you into. Here are some more relevant comments. User 4 said, block him anyway, and I hope you don't accept his gifts and give him false hope. I didn't. I told him absolutely no to maintaining contact, to going out, to the flowers or to Venice and any other things that he might think of. Then user 5 said, good for you, OP. It's so hard when your own family doesn't support your decisions, but the future you will be so happy that you made this choice. He sounds like a dumpster fire and should fix himself before getting into a relationship with anyone. Yeah, it certainly isn't easy. I had them screaming at me through the phone. I stopped responding, and now they are screaming at me through my door. I think the hardest part of this breakup is how let down I feel by my own family. It's amazing how week after week, as I am trying to change what's making me unhappy, I end up even more miserable. I am so happy for OP, and I'm happy that we got a happy ending story about someone leaving an abusive relationship, right? It is very hard for people in abusive relationships to not only realize that they are in one, but to also leave one. So good for OP. I'm really glad that she took the advice and decided, hey, like, I'm gonna give him closure, but she took the advice of not giving him closure in private, because that could possibly be disastrous. She did it in public, she refused his gifts, he said he was going to improve himself. I don't know if he was, but anyway, guys, that is the end of the story. Feel free to share your thoughts on, or that's the end of the video. Feel free to share your thoughts on this story or any story. Hell, feel free to share your thoughts on the next story. What will it be? I don't know. But guys, thank you all so much for watching. Bye-bye.